I'm whispering this to you through a cracked phone at 3:03 a.m. in a bathroom lit only by the blue-white glow of a dying bulb. The mirror is sweating. So am I. My reflection looks like someone who's been buried alive and just clawed her way out. Listen close, because what I'm about to say will crawl inside your ribs and live there. My name is Lena Harper, and 47 nights ago my sister Claire slit my throat with a fountain pen and sold the blood for $2 million. My brother Jonah held the bowl. My parents clapped. They thought they buried me in a pine box labeled failed artist. They never checked the coffin for air holes. Grandma Ruth did. She left me a loaded revolver wrapped in 70,000 singles and a map that ended with their empire screaming on a marble floor while 400 phones filmed the execution. If you've ever been the kid they measured for a coffin before you stopped breathing, lean in. This is the sound of the coffin lid exploding off its hinges. Hit subscribe. Lock the door. Because for the next 15 minutes, I'm going to make you feel every splinter. The first thing you need to know is how silence can bruise. I grew up inside a cathedral of glass and ego on the 32nd floor of Harper Coastal Tower. From the sidewalk, the building looked like a middle finger aimed at the sky. Inside, every footprint echoed like a verdict. Dad, Vincent Harper, built it one hostile takeover at a time. Mom, Celeste, kept the fingerprints off the chrome. Claire, 35, cheekbones sharp enough to slice contracts, could smell weakness across 3 zip codes. Jonah, 33, could launder a lie through 7 offshore accounts before breakfast. And me? I was the echo they tried to mute. I drew skylines on the condensation of their boardroom windows while they auctioned the city beneath us. At 16, Claire caught me sketching a rooftop garden on the back of a $10 million offer letter. She held it over the shredder until I cried. Then she kissed my forehead and said, "Tears smear graphite, Lena. Grow up." Family portraits were war crimes. Claire and Jonah center frame, teeth bleached to weapon grade, me airbrushed into the corner like a ghost they hadn't finished exorcising. But every Thursday the elevator opened to a different world. Grandma Ruth's penthouse smelled of bergamot, wet cedar, and the kind of secrets that keep their own pulse. She'd pour tea into cups so thin you could read tomorrow through them. "They think I'm the harmless widow counting Vincent's pennies," she'd murmur, unrolling blueprints older than my father. Hotels that hosted Sinatra. Speakeasies hidden behind waterfalls. Theaters where Billie Holiday cried into the curtains. All designed by a woman who wasn't supposed to hold a T-square. She'd trace the scar on my wrist, Claire's birthday prank, with the wine cellar lock, and whisper, "Inventory your enemies, darling." They always sign their work. I thought she meant sketches. She meant scars. The night Ruth died, the city forgot how to breathe. She slipped away mid-sentence, mid-laugh, mid-story about the time she smuggled Ella Fitzgerald past a whites-only rope. The funeral was a pop-up Rolex convention in morning drag. Claire wore sunglasses indoors like paparazzi might resurrect. Jonah kept one thumb on the Dow. At the reading, Marcus Hale's conference room smelled of lemon polish and dread. His tie was the color of a fresh bruise. He read like a man defusing a bomb. To Claire, the Cliff House, the vineyard, 200,000. Claire's exhale fogged the glass table. To Jonah, the car vault, the watch vault, 200,000. Jonah's smirk could cut diamonds. To Vincent and Celeste, my pearls, my portraits, my silence. Mom dabbed an eye that had never learned how to cry. Marcus closed the folder. The silence had teeth. Claire's laugh shattered it. Perfect. The charity case gets the air she's been wasting. I stood. My knees sounded like snapped wishbones. Marcus caught my gaze across the mahogany ocean. His eyes said, "Hold your breath. We're only on page 1. 14 days later, Claire summoned us to the war room. Chandeliers dripped frozen blood. She slid folders like scalpels. Meridian Tower needs $2 million by sunrise or the city seizes the skyline. Dad's face folded in on itself. Claire's gaze pinned me to the leather chair. Lena has Grandpa's trust. Matures in 90 days. We just need her signature for a bridge. Jonah's voice was honey over broken glass. 6 months, double payback, family forever. Dad's hand landed on my shoulder, heavy as guilt. Lena, we never ask you for anything. The word never was a brand. I signed. The pen felt like a bone. The second the ink dried, Claire's fingers became claws. She raked every page into her briefcase faster than a card shark palms an ace. Jonah vanished. Mom started planning the Victory Mimosa bar. I asked for my copy. Claire's smile was winter in a sequin dress. Trust me, little ghost. That night my card declined at a gas station that smelled like piss and broken dreams. By dawn my apartment key was a useless relic, my savings account a crime scene, and Claire had emailed the city. Lena has chosen minimalism. We support her journey. The replies were arsenic. So brave. So broke. So gone. I checked into the Sunset Motor Lodge with 3 suitcases and a scream I swallowed like glass. Room 12 had wallpaper the color of nicotine tears. The Gideon Bible was missing the Book of Job. I was microwaving shame for dinner when my boot kicked something that fought back. A leather case older than my betrayal. Brass plate, Lena Harper. My pulse lived in my teeth. Inside, 70,000 in rubber-banded bricks and an envelope sealed with wax the color of dried blood. Grandma's handwriting crawled across the page like it was still alive. If your fingers are shaking, they've already started digging. This cash buys oxygen. The war starts at Marcus Hale, Suite 2900. Tell him Ruth's Phoenix protocol just caught fire. P.S. Let them toast over your grave. The dirt's still warm. Marcus didn't flinch when I dumped 70 grand on his blotter. The bills smelled like desperation and bergamot. He locked the door, killed the lights, and opened a safe that sighed like a dying confession. Your grandmother built a cathedral in the dark. 3 million in boutique interiors, 2 million liquid, every brick hidden behind LLCs Claire couldn't spell. But Ruth wanted you baptized in fire. One rule, land a verified $500,000 contract in 180 days. Announce it at your parents' Ruby anniversary in front of every zero they ever knelt for. Client present. Notarized. Fail and Claire inherits the ashes. Succeed and the fraud charges I've been marinating since 2019 go live on every screen in the state. He slid across a portfolio bound in midnight leather. Every napkin I'd ever cried over, every receipt I'd doodled on, every rejection sketched in the margins of Claire's mockery, photographed under gallery lights, captioned like scripture. Ruth collected your garbage. Now set it on fire and warm the world. Month 1 I rented a broom closet above a vape shop that smelled like cotton candy regret. I painted the door myself at 4 a.m. Harper & Co. Interiors. The ampersand bled. I cold-called ghosts from Ruth's 1974 Rolodex until my tongue blistered. First gig, a vegan donut shop that wanted walls the color of hope. 28 grand. I shot the hero photos on a cracked iPhone at magic hour, knees in powdered sugar. Second gig. A dentist terrified of beige. 45 grand. I framed the invoices like death certificates for doubt. Enter. Elise Park, hotel heiress with a handshake that could sign treaties. She walked into my closet office wearing a suit sharp enough to perform surgery. She flipped my donut spread once, twice, then looked up with eyes that had seen empires fall. My flagship lobby needs a heartbeat. $500,000. But Claire left me a voicemail that lasted 4 minutes and aged me 10 years. I waited for the door to slam. It opened wider. Elise smiled like a woman who'd burned her own bridges for fun. I hung up on her. Send me a deck by sunrise or I'll assume you're as spineless as she says. I didn't sleep. I bled mood boards until the sun came up ashamed. Claire weaponized lawyers like confetti. Cease and desist for breathing the Harper name. Anonymous reviews claiming I served rats with the croissants. Jonah drunk dialed at 2 a.m., voice thick with bourbon and cowardice. Take the freelance scraps, Lena. Before we salt the earth. I screenshot every slur, every threat, every tear. Marcus built a bonfire of evidence and toasted marshmallows over it. 2 weeks to gala. I was 80 grand shy and running on spite and Red Bull. Elise texted coordinates and a single emoji. Tokyo Tower. Tokyo, 3 a.m. rooftop. Mr. Kato waiting with sake and a blank check. He studied my portfolio under cherry blossoms that smelled like forgiveness. Your grandmother designed my father's first ryokan in '78. He cried the day it opened. Debt is a circle. 200 grand. Sign. The notary was a monk who stamped the contract with incense still curling from his sleeve. Gala night. The crystal ballroom dripped money and desperation. I walked in wearing Ruth's emerald silk, slit to the thigh, and the Yamamoto contract burning a hole in my clutch like a live coal. Claire's champagne flute froze halfway to her lips. Lena, you're hallucinating. Security. Elise Park stepped in front of her wearing a smile sharp as a katana. For other women. Materialized the coven, each owed Ruth a life. They formed a wall of silk and vengeance. The MC, paid in untraceable bills, handed me the mic after Claire's toast about family sacrifice and knowing one's place. I didn't scream. I clicked the projector and let the dead speak. Ruth's face, 40 feet tall, time-stamped the week she died. Hidden nanny cams rolled. Claire at 2:14 a.m. swapping my loan pages while humming Happy Birthday. Jonah forging my signature with a flourish and a grin. Claire again, voice crystal. By Monday the trust is ours and the little Picasso is homeless in designer shoes. 400 phones rose like guillotines. I held up the Yamamoto contract. $500,000. Verified. Client present. Mr. Cato bowed so low his forehead kissed the marble. Claire lunged. Elise clotheslined her with a solid gold champagne tray. Jonah folded like origami soaked in guilt, handed the DA a thumb drive mid-sob. Wire fraud, securities fraud, tax evasion, conspiracy to commit tears, take your pick. Dad aged 30 years in 30 seconds. Mom whispered, we didn't know, to a room that Liv tweeted her denial. Partners peeled away like leeches in saltwater. By the time the string quartet played their third song, Harper Coastal was bankrupt on Bloomberg. 1 year later I'm on the 30th floor of the building Ruth opened in 1974 with nothing but a drafting table and a death wish. My lobby smells of cedar and fresh starts. Ruth's original blueprints hang beside my children's hospital wing that just won the Pritzker. Claire wears prison khaki and a ponytail that screams surrender. Jonah teaches bookkeeping to men who lost everything to addiction and found it again in spreadsheets. Mom texts every Sunday. Proud of you. I reply with emojis of phoenixes. Some nights the elevator opens and I swear I smell bergamot. I whisper into the empty shaft. I kept the scar. I just stopped letting it bleed. Here's where I rip my chest open and hand you the still beating thing inside. Forgiveness isn't a gift I gave them. It's a bone I yanked out of my own throat so I could breathe. Claire still writes letters from cell block 4B. The envelopes smell like institutional despair and Chanel No. 5 knockoff. She calls me Judas in lipstick. I use them to line the cat's litter box. Jonah sends apology voice notes at 3 a.m. I save them for rainy days when I need to remember thunder can sound like regret. Dad sold the tower to pay restitution. He golfs alone now, chasing a ball that keeps disappearing into the rough of what might have been. Mom volunteers at the women's shelter Ruth funded anonymously. She folds tiny sweaters and whispers my name like a prayer she's still learning. I visit Ruth's grave on the anniversary of the gala. I bring white roses and the latest cover of Architectural Digest with my face on it. I read her the hate mail out loud so we can laugh until the groundskeeper asks us to keep it down. Then I kneel in the dirt and tell her the part one never say on camera. I still wake up reaching for the little girl who thought love was a signature on a dotted line. Some nights I find her hiding under my desk, knees raw from begging. I carry her to the window and show her the city I built without their permission. I tell her the bruises faded into constellations. I tell her the coffin was just a seed. So here's the match. If the people who taught you your worth handed you a price tag that read 0, would you burn their ledger or build your own library? Would you forgive the hands that held the knife, or would you forge the blade into a key? Type your answer below in all caps so the algorithm hears your heartbeat. I read every comment at 3:03 a.m. when the city is quiet enough to hear phoenixes molting. If this story cracked your ribcage open, share it with the kid still measuring herself against a doorway of scars. Hit the bell, because next week I'm exposing the venture capitalist who tried to buy my silence with a private island. Spoiler, I took the island, planted Ruth's roses, and opened it to every black sheep artist who ever needed a place to scream. The fairy leaves at dawn. Bring your sharpest pencil. You are not the echo. You are the explosion. Now go light the sky.